Hello, and welcome to a minisode of My Streaming Bubble, the podcast where I usually talk about the shows I love with the people I tolerate. Not always, but I'm still your TV watching and talking host, Jen, and welcome back to another Last of Us mini bubble, where it's just me reviewing Season 2, and this time we're going to go back and revisit Episode 6, The Price. So, not a lot to... I don't think I've got a lot, but we'll find out because that's just kind of how this podcast goes. I don't really know what's all going to happen and how it's going to happen until I get to the end of everything. So it's a surprise for everyone. All right, so back for episode 6 of season 2 of The Last of Us. We'll go ahead and get right into it. So this is your spoiler warning and some content warnings for you. Let's see. So and the IMDb information coming at you right now. So the IMDb synopsis for this episode is Joel surprises Ellie for her birthday. Years later, Ellie prepares to confront Joel about her past. What I says about this episode, I says, I was right for once. It's very exciting, very validating. I've been wrong about everything else in this season, so it's nice to be like, oh my God, I called it. Let's see, content warnings for... Well, they don't show it, but there is discussion, mention of child abuse. Other than that, I can't really think of anything, but nothing else really stood out. So, but let me know if I missed anything and I will try and do better. So previously on The Last of Us, Ellie continues on her revenge journey of finding and taking out Team Abby, starting with Nora. Let's see, breathe in good air, breathe out bad spores. And Sarah fights Smarty's Jesse. Oh my. So kind of based on everything we saw and how last week's episode ended, I had a feeling this was going to be a flashback because it literally ends with a flashback of Ellie and Joel living a nice, happy life in Jackson. Like I said, it was nice to be right about something with this show for once this season. So probably going to be the last time. And that's all right. I'll take it. A win is a win. So the episode starts with a way flashback. I love flashbacks almost as much as I love random ass musical episodes and TV shows. But we get a glimpse into Tommy and Joel's childhood, just a real quick little snapshot almost. And here we see that Joel's always kind of been like a saver, a protector type, telling Tommy got into some trouble and Tommy's worried that their dad's going to come home and beat his ass. And Joel's like, no, it's fine. I got this. And then in a surprise kind of twist, the dad comes home and he doesn't just start yelling, screaming, and start being abusive. But when the dad basically lets Joel know, hey, I know exactly everything that happened. You can't fucking lie to me. Little Joel's like, well, you're not going to hurt him. And so then the dad proceeds to grab a couple beers, sit down, and have just kind of this open, honest moment. And I would have to say that for 1983 boomer dad, that's also a cop, that's kind of that's quite the confession. That's just quite the move for a boomer dad. And while he didn't come right out and apologize for anything, he gives a little bit of context. And he tells Joel that his father, Joel and Tommy's grandfather, was way worse. Punched their dad so hard in the face that he had to have his jaw wired shut for several weeks. And their dad, Joel and Tommy's dad, was just basically I'm trying to do better. And almost acknowledging that, yes, he knows he's abusive, but he's doing his best not to be as terrible as his father was, and kind of taking that really tiny step and breaking the cycle of abuse. Not really, but because he's still beating them apparently, and they're quite, they're old enough there's no age limit, but he's acknowledging what he's doing is wrong. But is letting Joel know that he's doing the best with the examples that he was given. And he was given a really shitty example. And he just knows that his father took it too far and that he doesn't ever want to take it too far. So, and then I just like this moment where at the end of their discussion of his kind of confession, he tells Joel that, someday if you have kids, you'll understand or you'll do better than what I've done. So like I said, quite the confession from 1983 Boomer Dad. I was kind of a shock. A nice shock. Surprise. So I was like, oh shit, I didn't know parents in the 80s could do that. What? So that's the cold open. We get into the intro, and I missed if Pedro's name was in the credits, but I did see him at the very end standing there with Ellie walking. I was like, he's back. So that made me just ridiculously happy. So we start off, and this whole episode is just flashbacks. It starts off after the intro with Ellie's 15th birthday. They've been in Jackson only a couple of months. So they're pretty new, right? They just got there, but Joel's already like going on runs and all this other shit. So, and then Joel goes and is like talking to Seth because he works at the bar at their little community hall or whatever, and kind of asking for a favor. Like Joel found some toys to give to Seth so he could give it to like his grandson or whatever in exchange for Seth making a birthday cake, basically. And, when Seth first popped up, I was like, all right, I'm going to be cool. I was going to let it go. Won't write nothing down. Won't bring him up in the recording. But then he had to go and say that he was a cop. And I was like, of course he was a cop. And that he was a cop on the Milwaukee Police Department. I was like, of course he was. Fucking Seth. And then we get this nice little montage after that. Like Joel leaves and goes back home, and we see him working on some stuff being made out of bone. And I'm thinking he's just making a pick. No, he built like a whole ass guitar, refurbished or whatever, restored. And that was his gift to Ellie for her 15th birthday. And just their whole kind of relationship at this point is there's still like a lot of love, some respect and everything, because when Ellie first comes into the scene with Tommy, she gets caught doing something or whatever. And she just kind of responds as a child would. Oh, I'm so sorry. And, not so sassy pants like she is now as an adult. And just kind of seeing how she's still leaning on Joel and, I'm sorry, and kind of all of that type of interactions with him. It was so sweet. We get our happy moments with these two, and it's so nice. He gives her the guitar, and then we get serenaded by Joel. And that was just so lovely. Thank you for that. And then we get a little time jump to a year later when Ellie turns 16, and they're walking through the woods and everything, and just having kind of a father type, daughter type conversations, just shooting the shit or whatever. And then at one point, Joel's just like, oh, something like, have you had the talk about the birds and the bees? And Ellie's just like, you mean dicks and vaginas? And then the way Joel responds with Jesus. Loved it. Classic parenting response. That just made me chuckle, clearly. So they're walking through, and it's her birthday. She's trying to guess what Joel got for her this year. One guess is a dinosaur, some of these kind of more outlandish guesses. And they get to a point, and there's this big like dinosaur sculpture metalwork statue thing. And they come through, and she's like, it is a dinosaur, and climbs it and just is having a blast. And she spots like the museum in the distance, and, oh, can we go? And Joel's like, yep, if you Get down, we'll head over. So basically, so then they get to the museum. They see some spacey shit, one of those planetary things, an Ore or something like that. And she starts cranking it and it moves. And she's like, oh my God, it works. And Joel's just like, oh, I guess someone must have greased the wheel. So the fact that he's got this all planned out, this was kind of like as big and grandiose of a birthday gift that you could give someone, I think, in a zombie apocalypse. I love it. The thoughtfulness, the time that it took for him to plan and go out there and grease it and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely love it. So then they're in the museum and there's like a space capsule thingy. And he's like, yeah, they're like, oh, let's go to space. And just a really cute, fun moment. Joel's like, oh, you need a helmet if you're going into space. And so this part I really liked. I'm just like, oh shit. Museums are kind of awesome in the apocalypse because he hands her a rock and she breaks a display and just grabs the helmet she likes best. Because why not? Who's going to stop you? So then they climb into the little space capsule thingy and Joel hands her a cassette tape and because she's got a Walkman, because of course, and she's got her little space helmet on. He hands her the cassette and he's like, this was a little harder to come by or whatever. And she hits play and it's like sounds of NASA and space shuttles taking off and countdowns and all that kind of stuff. And we just have this kind of nice little moment of Ellie getting to be a kid, imagining going into space, all this work and thoughtfulness that Joel put into this gift. Her birthday gift for this year. And the fact that, like, he somehow found a tape of NASA headquarter recordings and transmissions and shit like that to give her as authentic of an experience as possible. Like, what, how, where did that, you know what? It was probably just like somewhere else in the museum. Maybe it wasn't that hard now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, and then and then they're just kind of hanging out. She finishes her tape and going to space. And the way he just kind of looks at her and did I do okay? He asked. Oh my God. It melted my fucking heart. I loved it so much. He just wants to be a dad so bad. And I know that rhymed. I don't care. And, he's kind of good at it, but we're kind of seeing all these things, and it's like, even as I'm watching it, it's just, oh, I'm loving it. I'm fucking eating that shit up. I'm just like, yay, Joel's back and look at him being a good dad, but also trying not to forget what he did at the end of season 1, because I loved him all through season 1. And then at the end, and then when he lied to Ellie about that, what he'd done. Oh, that was so disappointing. I was really upset by that. So we're coming back into season 2, almost like, not that we forgot what he did, but just kind of showing us the more caring, loving side of Joel and why he did it and why he made that selfish decision. So as they're heading back to Jackson after their day of going into space, Ellie sees just some fireflies, not the people, but the insects, just kind of floating around, glowing, and she kind of pauses, and it's like she's reminded of something. She's thinking of something. She's kind of like, oh yeah, there's like that whole thing, fireflies, and that didn't make a whole lot of sense. So then we jump to a year later. Ellie turns 17. Joel gets home from work early and catches her necking with a girl and smoking pot and getting tattoos, drawing up tattoos or whatever. And I just loved his line of all the teenager shit at once, huh? That might have been kind of hard to deal with. That might be rough for like any like parental figure coming into all of that. Cause yeah, we're just jump right into it. So then you'll have to excuse me. I don't know if it's my allergies or if I'm coming down with something, but I'm getting a bit of like brain fog settling in, it feels like, and my throat feels like it's putting in, I have to put in a lot of effort to talk right now. I don't know if I sound any different, but I feel like I sound different. You know how that goes? Anyway, Ellie's a teenager. Her and Joel get into some, parent-teenager squabbles and everything, but the situation kind of calms, and he's looking around and he sees that she's got a lot of like moth drawings and stuff, and he's asking her about it, almost like he's trying to like just diffuse the situation, calm down, and like level with her, just like kind of skip the whole angry part. But yeah, so Joel's asking Ellie about, all these like moth drawings and stuff. And she's like, oh, I saw it. I liked it. And he's just like, yeah, all right. I get it. Moth, rebirth, change, growth, all that kind of stuff. And she's like, yeah. And then Joel goes running off to Gail, and she's just like sitting, reading her book, trying to enjoy her book. He comes up and starts trying to pepper her with questions, and she's just like, do I look like Lucy from the fucking Peanuts? And I loved it. I love that line so much. I love Gail, love Catherine O'Hara. This is the best. So he's asking her about moth versus butterflies, because he's like, oh, moths, that's the symbolism, right? And she's like, nope, it's death. Finishes her sentence, and she's like, why? Just kind of annoyed. And then Joel just fucks off. So they, sorry, I love Gail so much. She is the best. So this year ends with Ellie moving out to the garage. She was going to try and do so while her and Joel were all mad at each other and everything. And he's just like, it's not, you can't move out there. There's no heat. There's no water, blah, blah, blah. And trying to pull the whole, like, not under my roof kind of thing. And she's like, this isn't yours. You don't own shit. She's like, this is ours. They gave it to us. And now she's really starting to kind of pull away from, being less of like that daughter type and becoming more of like her own person, like an adult, and trying to have more of like an adult type relationship with Joel, if that makes sense. Like, instead of something like father-daughter, like trying to shift that relationship to be more just like person to person. I think that's pretty common for a lot of folks as we get older, and trying to maybe have a deeper or different connection to our parents, and not just see them as our parents, but maybe as, a friend or, like a partner, in the sense that they work together. But yeah, so this one ends with Ellie starting to move out to the garage. Because Joel's like, well, just give me some time and get you all set up. So then now we cut to 2 years later. Ellie is now 19. And boy, does she have questions, to the point where she actually like wrote them down and is rehearsing them. And what we saw earlier in the season, she's not really like a write it down kind of person. So the fact that she does so here, I thought was kind of a big deal, because these are very important questions, and she wants to be able to get them out and just be able to ask them and stay focused. So I love that for her. Very, very prepared. But yeah, her questions are, for Joel and what happened in Salt Lake City and everything. But then her and Joel go out on her first patrol, and as they're making their way through the woods and everything, and this is kind of like a beginner's patrol trail, I guess. Everyone kind of starts on this one. There's not a lot that's going on during this patrol route or whatever. But they come across a gentleman who's been bit, played by the amazing Joe Pen. Oh, I thought I had his name written down because I wasn't going to say it correctly. Hold on. All right. So Joe Pantoliano. Hopefully I did a little better that time. But he's out in the woods. He's all bit and everything. And Joel right away is pretty much like, well, we got to put you down. We have rules, blah, blah, blah. We're learning through this interaction that this gentleman, Eugene, is Gail's husband. So kind of a nice filling in those blank spaces from earlier in the season when we know that Gail is mad at Joel for having killed her husband. My dumbass was getting timelines, time periods, locations, and shit confused. So initially I just thought maybe Eugene somehow, like Gail's husband, somehow was caught in the crossfire, like Salt Lake or something else. I wasn't thinking at the beginning of the season when I started this. And that's kind of on me for not doing a proper rewatch of season 1 to have, figured that out. So now we know that this is Gail's husband. Now we know that Joel does kill him, but why? I mean, he's bit and everything, but how is this going to go down? Because Gail is still quite angry with him. So Joel's all ready to put down Eugene, and Eugene's like, no, just let me say goodbye to my wife and, kind of last words and this and that. And Joel's just very much like, nope, I don't want to fuck with any of this shit. And Ellie's like, no, we got time to fuck with this shit. So then Joel's like, yep, go get the horses and we'll go, start making our way back. So Ellie fucks off to go get the horses. Joel and Eugene are kind of making their way through the woods. Eugene is leading. And he's, oh, the cordyceps make you cold, and I'm getting so cold, and these kind of little comments and stuff about being infected and all of that. So then they come out to this nice, ledge, cliff, overlooking, the lake and the mountains, and it really was, a gorgeous fucking view. And Joel's just trying to give Eugene, a nice view before he puts him down, and it was giving... Just look at the flowers, Lizzie. Another Walking Dead moment. I can't help it. I'm sorry. So Joel's getting ready to put Eugene down. Eugene, and Joel tells Eugene, oh, if you have any last words for Gail, I'll pass them along. And Eugene says something along the lines of it's not my last words for her, but it's her last words for me. And I just thought that was so beautiful and touching and just oh, he just wants to see his wife, hear her voice, maybe have her tell him it's going to be okay, exchange those final I love yous and all of that. And Joel absolutely should have given him that, but he fucking didn't. And he put Eugene down, and shortly after, Ellie comes around with the horses. And obviously she knows because she heard the gunshot. We don't hear it as the viewers of the show. We just see the birds flutter off out of the trees. And you're just like, oh, he did the thing. So Ellie shows up with the horses, looking none too pleased with Joel. Joel is basically we'll just tell Gail whatever she needs, just what she needs to know. So they get back to Jackson with Eugene's body, and Joel makes up some story about he was bit, he was brave, he did it himself, this and that. And at first, Gail is kind of thankful, that Joel was there or something, crying in his arms. And then Ellie's just that's not at all what fucking happened. And she comes clean and she tells Gail what happens. And Gail's rightfully pissed off. And then I love this part too, because, and I wouldn't have caught it without the after show, the behind the scenes. But when she's calling out Joel for lying about the whole Eugene situation, because before she parts ways with him to get the horses, she basically is you promise you won't do anything. And he's I promise. So at this point, when she's calling him out, she's you swore. And again, thanks to the behind the scenes bit after the episode, this calls back to the end of season 1, where she's asking Joel about kind of what all happened. And Joel gives her the bullshit about the Raiders and all of that. And in that moment, she'd asked him, do you swear? And he's I swear. So when he originally promised her that he wasn't going to shoot Eugene, that's when all the pieces kind of start falling together for her. And she's realizing that Joel is lying now. And especially after she comes around the corner and Eugene's dead. She's so Joel obviously lied now. And he lied to me 5 years ago about what happened in Salt Lake. So she's put it all together and she's mad and hurt, So she still doesn't know exactly what happened in Salt Lake. But then we cut to 9 months later, and now we're at the New Year's Eve barn party where Ellie and Dina have their first kiss. Seth is fucking Seth, and Joel pushes Seth and tells him, like, fuck off and all of that. And Ellie's like, I don't need your help and this and that. Still rightfully pissed. Still knows in her gut that all her suspicions are true. So then we get to see what happens after all of this. And Joel is back home, sitting on the porch, kind of being sad. And Ellie comes home. First, she walks right in the house. And you're thinking, yeah, she's mad. She's not going to talk to you. But then she comes back, and they're able to kind of have that open, honest discussion where she's like, this is your last chance to tell me the truth, or we're done. So Joel does painfully to him, because he knows that this is going to be a big thing that's going to put a wedge between him and Ellie and possibly lose Ellie. But he does come clean about how he murdered everybody and how he made a selfish choice. And she rightfully gets pissed. She's like, could they have made a cure? And he's like, yes, but you would have died. And she's like, she's basically like, that wasn't your fucking choice. My life would have meant something. You took that away from me. Kind of like, fuck you, you selfish asshole. And we kind of come full circle now from the beginning of the episode, because during all of this, Joel understands that she's super fucking pissed and that she may not ever speak to him again. And he said something like, I hope someday you'll understand, if you have kids, and that you can do a little bit better than I did. And it was so sweet. Again, trying to improve, right? Like, he's not abusive to Ellie like his father was abusive to him and Tommy, or like their grandfather was abusive to their dad. This is lying, manipulation, and truly just like selfish parenting kind of abuse. And yeah, just trying to lie to her, gaslight her about, oh yeah, I didn't do anything wrong and I saved you and this and that. So, and kind of like his dad, he's also in this moment acknowledging that what he did was not a good thing and that he did it out of love because he loves her so much. And he loves her, and I don't doubt that, but I also wonder how much of that is she's kind of filling that void of him losing his daughter, Sarah. Right? That was her name? So, I knew we were going to get happy moments and not so happy moments in this episode. I kind of figured we'd find out when she found out about what he did in Salt Lake and just how mad she was going to be. But she has this moment where she's like, I don't think I can ever forgive you for this. Joel seems very heartbroken by this, but also not at all like surprised. And then she drops but I would like to try. Aww. And that just perks him right up. There's a chance for them to kind of reestablish their relationship, rebuild trust and all of that. And that's kind of where they end their interactions, because this is the last time that they see and talk to each other until she sees him later when he's with Abby and gang. And then the episode we get at the end of all of that, we jump to present day. Ellie's still in Seattle. Looks like she's leaving the hospital. So is Nora dead? Most likely. If Ellie didn't kill her, she's definitely been left for dead. Breathing in all those spores and everything, probably not going to be doing so well. So, end of episode. Cue credits. Cue theme. Now, cue next time on The Last of Us is the season finale. What? 7 episodes? That's it? That's kind of bullshit. I don't like that at all. Why only 7? I feel like there's been too much given to us that I don't think they're going to be able to wrap it up satisfactorily in this season finale in 7 episodes. Maybe they will. Fantastic. I hope so. But I'm really kind of getting tired of these like 10 or less episode seasons. With this season, with this show, I was hoping, we'd at least get 10. Last season we had 9, so I don't know why we got fucking less, but all right. But I was hoping that we'd get these couple extra episodes. We'd get a little bit more time with Isaac and the wolves and, even the Seraphites. Find out who her is and maybe even just like get back to Jackson. I guess we don't really need to, but it just, I don't like it. We don't catch up to Abby and see what she's been up to. Probably just living her life, just hunky-dory, fine and dandy, nothing wrong. Totally unbothered by what she did. So I guess that's not completely necessary either. But I don't feel like we were given enough. We could have been given a little bit more, which would have been nice. But there's nothing I can do about it but just be a whiny bitch about it, I guess. It's just the way of fucking TV shows these days. Not Abbott Elementary, though. Quinta Brunson loves us. All right, so that's going to do it for me today. Next week, the exciting conclusion of The Last of Us. Hopefully it doesn't piss me off, but there's a good chance that it might. So we'll see. Just got to wait and see. Until next week, thank you all for listening and keep streaming. Goodbye. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to let me know by rating and reviewing on a podcast player near you, and by sharing your favorite episodes with your friends, family, and mail carrier. Then be sure to follow me on all your favorite socials like Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Just search My Streaming Bubble and I should pop on up there for ya. If you have suggestions on what I should stream in my bubble next, or you want to be tolerated, send an email to mystreamingbubble@gmail.com. Looking for merch? Stop by my Redbubble store where you can find and buy My Streaming Bubble stickers, hats, shirts, and more. You can also head over to buymeacoffee.com and, buy me a coffee. Need more podcast me in your life? Then be sure to check out my other podcast, Twin It to Win It. That's a monthly podcast that I co-host with my podcast brain twin, Erin from It's a Fandom Thing, where we test our twinningness by trying to guess if we both feel the same way about different horror movies. You can find and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And most importantly, you can listen, rate, review, and share from most podcast players. Thank you for your support and keep streaming. Goodbye.